Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Rise to Your Peak podcast. I am here with my guest today, Will Sage. I'm very, very excited about this episode. Will is a fellow exotic car enthusiast and track enthusiast, and he's also a very successful entrepreneur. Um, Will is a IFBB Pro Classic Physique competitor. He is the owner and head coach of Precision Elite, and he's also the co-owner of Iron Willed Clothing. Did I miss anything?
No, that's it, man.
That
That's
about
it.
summarizes it.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
Will, thanks so much for being on today with me. How you doing today, man?
It's going well, man. It's a beautiful day out. It's
Yeah,
can't complain. Can't complain. Had a little mishap this morning that I told you about, but
yeah,
I'll yeah, just laughs. Just laughs.
yep,
It's funny. You know what I mean?
yep.
So
Just gotta brush it off and move on.
hmm
So, you're a successful businessman, you're a coach, competitive athlete, you're juggling a lot day to day. I think, what a lot of people would like to know is just how do you do it? How do you find the balance and succeed in so many areas? Because we know competitive bodybuilding is very demanding, let alone pro competitive bodybuilding. And then you have a very busy team. Let's talk about that a little bit. What do you think is the trick in your case of balancing?
Honestly, Matt, it's tough. I can't lie. I can't sugarcoat it. It's tough. I was talking to a good friend literally this morning. He's also an athlete of mine, and he checked in, and we were kind of talking about that today. And it's to the point now where it's like, okay, if I have to take my dog to the vet or something like that, like my
Yeah.
whole day is screwed. Like my
Yeah.
my my
Agree.
day is done for. And it's just
Yeah.
like so nerve-wracking and stressful being like, okay, this 2 hour window is now gonna mean I'm gonna work tonight till 11 o'clock at night. You know what I mean? And it's now to the point where it's like a game of Tetris almost,
Yeah.
and fitting things in, but it's also what's that law? Is it like Parkinson's law or something like that? Where it's like it might be that one where it's like you will work to the time that you set aside. So it's
Of
like,
course.
let's say I have an 8 hours to finish, athlete check-ins, right? Um, it will take me the full 8 hours to do it. And it's
Right.
just learning to like fight against that, right?
Of
Whereas
course.
like let's say I have 4 hours, I could get the same amount done in that 4 hours. It's just I'm locking in. You know what I mean? So
No
it's kind of
distractions.
Yep, no distractions. So it's kind of like beating that, quote unquote law. And it's for me, it's been like compounding over time, right?
Yeah.
So if you put like my workload now to me from 5 years ago, I would lose, I'd fail for sure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think feel
Yeah.
like it's like I've been putting more on my plate as time goes by to the point that it's just second nature. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's normal for me to work a 12-hour day Monday through Friday, and an 8 hour day Saturday, Sunday, sometimes a 12-hour day Saturday too, because of
Yeah.
shows. And you know how it is
Sure.
being a coach at shows,
Absolutely.
um, and whatnot. So it's just really prioritizing
Yeah.
and just learning to make use of every point of your day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I traveled for I think at the end, I'm just on a 2 week break now. I think it was 18 weeks out of 21 weeks I traveled for this summer. Like
Yeah, I mean,
it's
I saw you were on the road constantly whenever I was, seeing things online from you and stuff. So, I mean, I kind of share a lot of similarities to you. Do you feel like, especially in the recent years over the past like 5 or so years where you and I have continued to get busier and busier, do you feel like part of it is our brain getting trained to better compartmentalize things and categorize priorities? Like, do you think that's something that you learn over time as an entrepreneur and a high level person that you just get better at compartmentalizing and kind of prioritizing categories?
oh 100%. Like I think that nails right on the head there. And to my point about like the traveling, it goes right into that. You know what I mean? It's like through those 18 weeks, I did not miss a meal.
Yeah,
I did not
that's
miss a
incredible.
workout. I did not miss a workout. Like
Wow.
I did not miss a cardio session. And it's like you said, it's like, do you think I wanted to do those things? No.
Right.
Like what I thought I had time to do those things? No. But it's
Yeah.
like exactly to the point that you said, it's doing just that. And it's over time, our brains have kind of shifted to be able to do so. And the end result is being able to handle more in a single day that a
Yeah.
normal person, in my opinion, would not be able to even get close to handling.
Which is why they call it the 1%, because not everyone can do it. Even if they wanted to, even if they had the means, your body, your personality, your thinking patterns, your grit, there's so many things that go into getting successful and staying successful and not basically letting the ship sink, so to speak. You brought up, the Tetris act. And I think I know exactly where you're going with that. I'm assuming most of your day is time blocks because that's how I get everything in. I literally have time blocks of my entire schedule. Every hour of every day is kind of accounted for, and that's how I make sure I'm successful.
Yep, 100%. Just that it's the time blocks. And as you know, you might have a time block set for the day, and that still goes to shit half the time. You know what I mean? Because things pop up. We
Yeah,
have fires to put out, and the more
yeah,
successful you get, the more fires you have to put out. And,
yeah.
ideally, you get to the point where you have people in designated roles to put out those fires for you. But still, I'm a firm believer like you still have to be in the business
Of course.
until you get to a certain point. And so it's still like I'm still constantly putting out fires,
Yeah,
still hopping on calls. I might have a 2 hour time block or a 1 hour time block for something. It takes me 3 hours to get it done. And now it's just
right,
shifting and it's be able
right.
to shift on the fly to still get
Yeah.
everything done.
Yeah, exactly. And basically accept that like whatever your plan was for 4 o'clock is out the window because of something else. But to that point, in hindsight, looking back, even if by having a time block, even if my day goes to shit, that's way better than just having chaos. If
Exactly.
I have to cancel my 4 p.m., who cares? Tomorrow's another day. But if my whole day is just chaos, that's horrible. That was a lot rougher for me years ago.
Yeah, I was the same exact way, and now Google Calendars is like my best friend, and
Live and die by it.
and yeah, it just has to be that way.
Yeah,
And I think like one of the biggest challenges of not only an entrepreneur but a entrepreneur who's also a coach is now you have to you know account for all these people in the same day,
yeah,
and not everybody understands
yeah,
that we have these time blocks. I mean, a great example is I had an athlete, a few days ago, and he normally checks in pretty early, and I responded. I normally respond like before 10 a.m. And it was like 2 p.m. He's like, yo, you good? And I was like, yeah, what are you talking about? He's like, well, you haven't responded to me yet today. I was like, bro, it's 2 p.m. Like I had an appointment this morning that set off my day, you know what I mean?
yeah.
And like now you have to like work around people too. So that's a whole nother obstacle is, working around people, different personalities and whatnot.
Well, and I think something very important to highlight here in your case that, you know, some of our listeners aren't involved in competitive athletics and physique competitions. To be the best competitor you can be, you have to be very selfish. To
Hmm.
be the best coach you can be, you have to be very selfless.
Exactly.
You are balancing both. And that's incredible, man. Most of the time when you really see, the coach competitor balancing act is tough. Most of the time what I see is when the coach is focused on their own prep, they kind of let their coaching fall to the wayside.
Hmm.
Understandably, no shade. Like you're fucking exhausted, you're focused, whatever. But that doesn't seem to be the case for you, man. Like I'll see you peaking someone and then the very next week you're stepping on stage too. Like
Yep.
that's incredible, bro.
Yeah. I mean, the second show I did this year, I had people turn pro that same day. My girlfriend competed the same day.
I
You know what I
remember that.
mean?
Insane.
And for me, I think what really, sets me apart is just the time I've been in it. I don't think a lot of people realize I've been doing this since I was 18 years old. You know what I mean? I'm 32 now.
Yeah.
And it's like just the reps, the reps, the reps. It's kind of made me like into like a robot within my
Yeah.
own preps to
Yeah.
where I don't really worry about myself. I find it more soothing worrying about others,
Sure.
if that makes sense. And I've been working with my coach now for over a decade. I think it's 12 years. So I'm just like, we're on such a same wavelength with like a push and pull type of like, we work together with it. And I think it's to the point where it's like, I ain't even worried about it.
Well, that's really nice. Yeah, if your own prep is kind of on cruise control, I can see how that makes things easier on you, and that's great that you and Ariel can go back and forth like that and work together like that. So, one question I have for you, we've talked about the juggling act of the travel, getting in your meals, getting in your lifts and stuff. Let's talk about rest and relaxation. How do you fit that into the equation? Because you do a good job balancing. You still have
Yeah.
your Will's time. So how do you fit that all in?
I would say I do, but I don't, if that makes sense. So like it's just how it is, when it's a different show every weekend, or even something with Iron Will, I was out there for like a campaign a few weeks ago, and that was a week I thought I was gonna have off, and it was like, oh no, we gotta get this done. You know what I mean? It's finding the little windows. Like I barely ever get a weekend to myself. Again, I'm at shows. Texas Pro, where Britt won the pro bikini in Austin. I think he took third or fourth at that one. I also had two athletes at the Masters Olympia, and then a pro in San Diego and a pro in one other location too. I
Wow.
pulled three all-nighters straight. I really did. I had no other choice because of the Tokyo time difference.
Yeah.
Um, and to the point where like Britt had won her show and she had to literally like, she's like, well, I'm wired because I just won. You know what I mean? I was like, dude,
Yeah.
you need to keep me awake. And I'm falling asleep like every 10 minutes. She's like, hey, wake up, hey, wake up. And like it gets tough, but it's like, okay, those are like the extremes this way, where it's
Yeah.
like, okay, that means I need to have the other way to balance it out too. And that is, when I am in town, I make sure I don't get less than 7 hours of sleep. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I have to be that way, or else my brain is just not working.
Of
It is
course.
not working. But it's doing that knowing like, okay, it's a show weekend. I'm not going to get sleep later
Yeah.
this weekend. I really need to get it in now. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And then to the other point, it's like if I do have a free weekend, there's times where it's like, yeah, I might just want to sit at the house and
Yep.
chill. Or, like this past week, I was at the track all weekend and I couldn't, dude, I came out of that, even though it was very taxing, I came out of that so refreshed. You know what I
Totally.
mean?
Totally.
And and it's just the hard part, man. It's knowing when to shut off, and that is something I really struggled with for a lot of years. And I honestly
Same.
don't think until this past year I finally learned how
Yeah.
to do it. And what it
Yeah.
came down to was literally like, dude, if I don't do this, like I'm no good to anyone.
Yeah.
And it's
Funny
just
too,
that's it.
because I feel like a lot of us are such high performers, we don't want to shut off. So it's not even knowing when to shut off. It's like talking to yourself and no, you have to shut off. Like this is the end. You know what I mean? Like making that boundary with yourself is so important. Do you feel like going back to the time blocking, do you time block yourself or is it just when you have spare time, you get in your own needs? How do
So
you,
I tried a time block for myself and it just like wasn't working because again, like things are bleeding into other things. But I have two things, and one's been a little rocky lately. It'll be different after. One is like my workout. Like I will make sure I get my workout in, 4 or 5 days a week. And like as you know, sometimes 4 days a week for professional bodybuilding is better than five, like just
yeah,
from a recovery aspect. So
yeah,
I'll judge that off my recovery, and if I'm really under recovered for the week, I'll take that fifth day off, and then it's like, oh man, I could work. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
I could take the rest of the day off later.
sure.
But my workout window, it's like I'm not answering a message like during
Yeah,
my workout window. I
that's
am
the
not. Uh,
non-negotiable.
that's a non-negotiable. It's been a little bit different the past few weeks because I've been training with Austin every day, and making sure he's getting looking good for Olympia. So that's been a little bit different, but I don't feel that really takes from me because I enjoy training with him. But I do make it a point to like shut off every night by like 9 p.m.
Yeah,
As long as my messages are responded to, like I'm shutting my laptop and like unless you're in peak week, you're not getting a response from me.
yeah,
And just that like hour and a half, 2 hours before I go to bed is what I need. Because if not, if I don't shut off, I'm not sleeping because my mind's just going. And I
totally.
just need that time. So as 9 o'clock hits, laptop shutting.
Yep,
Again, unless something crazy happened that day where it's
sure.
just unfortunately I have to work.
Of course.
That's basically how I run it. So my workout and then the 9 p.m. and then every now and then I'll plan things ahead where it's like I need to plan it for weeks ahead a time, but I do that like for example, like the track weekend,
Yeah,
um I planned that, a month ago. So it was like, okay,
Yeah.
like I know I'm doing that that weekend. I'm not going to travel.
Right, right. Do you work with a lot of guys or girls that are kind of in our similar shoes where you're helping them balance being a career professional, athlete, coach, etc.?
Oh, 100%, 100%. And I think I'm honestly really happy to because I didn't really have anyone to teach me that. You know what I
Same.
mean?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, a lot of times I feel a lot of resistance. I'm like, don't make the same mistakes I did, but
Yes.
like we were stubborn too years
Yeah.
ago, you know what I mean? So I
Sure.
find a lot of resistance, but I do find myself like really trying to like help those guys and those girls like, navigate that aspect. So they basically because I find a lot of people break like I
Sure.
didn't break, you didn't break, but I find a lot of people break and
Yeah.
then they spiral.
Yeah.
So it's my intention to not let them get to that point.
100% agree. Going down that pathway, some of the people you work with that are kind of in our similar realm, what do you tend to see? Because we kind of know things come up. Do you see some common symptoms, health conditions with specifically those types of people, or do you think, or better yet, symptoms, health conditions, or just roadblocks with those specific people compared to people who aren't quite as focused on their careers and professions?
Yeah, most definitely. And I think, what we're going to see, you're talking about like symptoms and whatnot when it comes to like their plan side of things, correct?
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, first instance, I will see like weight start trending up.
Yeah.
I will see normally there's some GI issues that come with that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Some mild ones.
Yeah, a little bit.
And from there, I'm just like stress. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, what's going on? And I think that's what really separates me as like a prep coach and you as well. I know like you, to my knowledge, you're still prepping some people.
Not so much these
And
days, but yeah, still
and
helping.
it's like I feel like most coaches, and I'm happy to see more are doing it, aren't focusing on that stress aspect. It's just like, okay, more cardio, less food, you're not dropping. And I'm like, so I'm like reversing that thinking and trying to also reverse that thinking in the athletes.
Yeah.
I mean, I had one girl who like she hit a block and she has a very, very stressful work life where she's an entrepreneur. And I'm like, okay, look, like this is super like ass backwards. I know, like to what you're gonna perceive.
Right.
I gave her like a full week of high days and then cut the cardio in half. And she's like, dude, like, are you sure? I'm like, yes. You know what I mean? Didn't drop a pound or didn't gain or drop. Didn't gain
Yeah.
or drop. Stayed exactly the same. She's like, I can't believe I didn't lose weight. I said, watch this. Lowered her food. All right, I brought her back down to the lows, dropped 4 pounds. She's like,
Yeah.
dude, what the heck? I was like, dude, you're just stressed.
Yeah.
Like you see how stress acts upon the body, and we
Yeah.
got to take care of that. She was also experiencing like some bloating, some indigestion, some acid reflux. And I was like, okay, we got to take a look at those things because if we continue to go down this route, it's just going to get worse and we're
Yeah.
going to dig ourselves into a hole that we don't want to be.
And I think, everything you said is just so important for the listeners who are trying to maybe burn the candle at both ends. And when you're in the trenches and you have your eyes on that show date or that photo shoot, whatever the end goal is, you're so emotionally tied that the idea of pulling back is not acceptable. We are from an outside perspective seeing your body is adapting. And if you
Mhm.
continue to push forward, you're actually going to fail. The only choice is a diet break or a refeed or some type of attack on that adaptation that's happening, which is exactly what you did. And I think people need to understand, again, this is why it's so beneficial to have a coach in your shoes with that experience because you're catching it before it becomes a problem. Low level GI issues, a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of weight gain, a little bit of sleep issues, that can all still be fixed. Once it turns into 3 months of GI issues, no digestion, no sleep, hormones fucked, your prep is pretty much done, you know?
Yeah, you're
So you're
cooked at
able
that
to
point.
catch these things and get them on track within like a week or two and head right back into it.
Yeah, and a lot of times they'll kind of skyrocket into progression after that too. You know what I mean? So
Of
it
course.
like kind of like slingshots them forward. And another great example, I use Britt as an example again because she's a NICU nurse, so baby ICU nurse. She, very very stressful, especially
All
in
right.
Texas.
Yeah.
Like they work them to the bone here in Texas,
Yeah.
and it's like. out of the gate start of prep, I'm like, dude, you're only training 4 days a week. Like every time day you work, you're taking that day off training. And,
Wholeheartedly agree.
again, it's like kind of like, granted, like since I worked with her last year, she knew what to expect. And she's like,
Yeah.
oh, you got it. And we're able to progress. But I see all these people who are also nurses in the same position who are like hammering. I'm like, dude, you're working at 12, you're doing 40 minutes of cardio and you're training, like you're 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 not going to respond to that, or you might for like, a set time, but it's going to start pushing back.
Yeah.
So I'd rather just not even go there in the first place and be able to progress off 4 days a week training, 3 days a week training, and doing what we have to do to progress forward. And normally there's a better end result.
I mean, I think we both agree that consistent 4 to 5 days a week is always going to trump 6 days a week.
Yep. I don't have, to be honest, I don't have one athlete training 6 days a week.
Yeah. Doesn't really make sense, male or female.
Yep.
So with that being said, a question just came up in my mind. Some coaches are a little bit more proactive in their programming. Some are a little bit more reactive in their programming. So when you maybe onboard a client where you see, okay, nurse, high level CEO, busy job, are you intentionally putting in diet breaks or limiting training in advance? Or are you kind of waiting to see how they respond and then maybe adjusting?
So what I normally do is with those individuals, to be honest, I'll normally purposely overshoot calories
Mhm.
and then kind of like undershoot the training. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And if I get elicit response like that, I know, okay, we're gonna be good. Right. Now, let's say there isn't response. Obviously, I'm gonna have to push them a little bit, or
yeah,
or I might even try to push the food a little higher because you know as well as anyone, like sometimes I don't get it going. Right.
yeah,
But if I do have to push, then I'm very, very smart about like really keeping an eye on it. You know what I mean? As much as possible. And like ideally, you want to be proactive, but sometimes you got to get the body going a little bit. And there is that, situation, especially not so much lifestyle, but more so in someone in a prep where you're
right,
you're going to have to like, really, really like keep an eye on sometimes it is reactive, that's just how the cookie crumbles. But that's also why I think it's really beneficial to having someone check in like every 3 days versus every 7 days. Is to catch instances like that before there's a problem.
totally. Yeah. A lot can happen in 7 days,
Yeah, definitely.
you know? Um, what are some, if you don't mind me asking, in your experience over the last couple of years, busy where businesses have gotten crazier, but also your professional athletic career has gotten busier. Um, what are some things you've ran into? Have you ran into any specific health complications on your own? I know back in the day you had some like light GI issues, but anything in recent years?
Yeah, so I've always, and this has like been since since I was a kid, like since I can remember, I've had GERD. But luckily, the more knowledge that I've gained over the years from yourself and Austin, I don't really have those issues anymore. If it does spike up, I know how to take care of it immediately, and it's gone in a day. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, but outside of, I would say my issue was always under recovery, and that has led to again, like I partially tore my pec. I tore my hip and my quad. Granted, the hip and the quad was playing soccer, dumb. But the pec is like I did it and I knew I was like, bro, I wasn't hydrated. I already knew I felt like shit today. Like I knew that was gonna happen in the
I
back of
didn't
my head.
stretch, I didn't warm up, I didn't do anything.
Exactly. Like I
Yeah.
knew it was gonna happen in the back of my head, and I still freaking did it anyways. I was like, "You're so dumb." You know what I mean? But I think to your point, my biggest issues that I ran into not recently but years ago was the stress aspect, like we were just talking about. And dude, I'm not gonna lie, like I had a prep where I had to go like protein veggie only just to get there. You know what I mean? And it,
Yeah,
it
just
sucked
really
and it was
go
awful. It was
hard.
awful. And like I felt like I was gonna pass out every day. And looking back, I was like way over caffeinated. And this was like years and years ago when I was still in the military. I was way over caffeinated. And then after that, and I think like you're gonna appreciate this, is I was so type A. Like if I didn't eat this meal at this time, like I'm pissed off. If I didn't have like if everything wasn't perfect, I was pissed off. And it
Yeah,
wasn't until like years ago where I was like, dude, I'm gonna let that go. I'm gonna
yeah,
let that go. I'm gonna just flow with the day. If I'm an hour late on my meal, I'm an hour late on my meal. I'm getting it in. Obviously, that's not gonna be like on purpose. I'm not being lazy,
of
but it's
course.
like I'm busy.
Shit
And
happens.
I and once I learned to have fun and do it at the same time, I ate way more into shows.
Yeah.
I wasn't as fatigued, and
Yeah.
literally it was just letting go is
Yeah.
honestly what did most of it, to tell you the truth.
It's so
Um,
funny, and it took me so long to realize that stressing over missing a meal is actually worse than just missing the fucking meal.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But no, for myself, my biggest issues was that I never really ran into like any crazy blood work issues or GI issues. It was more so like if I had an issue, it was my own doing from under recovery, and I had to really learn that the hard way.
Yeah, that makes sense, man. How about mental health? Is there anything that you've ran into either personally or with male clients who are kind of burning the candle at both ends where you just really see mental health declining?
Oh, I see it all the time, man.
Yeah,
I really really do, and it's really tough to see because I've gone through things in the past few years that really took my mental health like really down a dark place, and
yeah, of
I think that is like something that we all know is there, but it's not talked enough about.
course.
You know what I mean? And that's another thing that I think being proactive about is just really, really smart, and not a lot of people do it. But especially from male entrepreneurs, honestly, I see it the most out of,
Yeah,
specifically male entrepreneurs, more
yeah,
so than female.
yeah, I agree.
I definitely see it the most. I see the mental aspect. I see because it's not only like the body side type of, you're fighting, like you said, the burning the candle at both ends. You're fighting two different battles,
Yeah,
and it just really, really takes a toll.
yeah. Yeah, well, and they obviously men aren't nearly as open about talking about it, seeking help for it. If anything, we're more likely to just grind in the gym and grind at work and use those as coping mechanisms, which just makes it worse, you know?
Yep, 100%, man.
Yeah. So that's tough, man. Are there any tips you have that you feel has helped yourself specifically from a mental aspect, continue to just progress and not let that bring you down?
Honestly, as like cliche as it sounds, and I used to be like the most like hard-headed, like wake up, work, and I
Yeah,
still do. Like I wake up, I literally like coffee, sit down, no morning routine. Like I really don't have one. But something I did implement that helps tenfold is I go outside and I have like the swing in front of my pool and I sit there for like 10 minutes. And like
every morning.
that every morning. And
Yeah,
that little thing right there has like really,
yeah,
really made an impact on my mind. And I can feel it right after, you know what I mean? And it's like, people journal, which is totally fine. I
yeah,
think just sitting there for me outside in the sunlight in the morning, um, and I just have that like gratitude moment because you're probably just like me. And it's always like, I could be doing more. I could be doing more. I could be doing more. And I think taking that 10 minutes of step back before you get in that mindset
yeah,
can really, really work wonders. And it's something where it's like, because, I feel like most things that will help like the mental side of things, just a lot of people aren't going to make the time to do. But that is one thing that I found like I can make the time to do every day. And
yeah.
it's helped like tenfold.
Yeah. No, I love that, man. And as you were talking, I was literally thinking, mo morning gratitude, because that's literally, the same thing that I try to do. And I don't know if you got that from like Tony Robbins or someone like that, but he's a big proponent of that because the idea is, if you start your day with a few moments of gratitude, it's impossible to be sad or angry if you're grateful, you know? And so
Yeah.
you can just shift your entire start of your day by just thinking about a couple things to be grateful of and have some gratitude about what's transpiring in your life. I'm not always best at it, but it's something that I am continuing to work on. And absolutely, I see the benefits when I do it.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, I was literally like, one day, one weekend, I literally went to church and they said something like, dude, go outside and just look up. And I was like, I'm gonna do that tomorrow. And I just like like you said, gratitude. It's just like when you take that moment, you have that gratitude, you almost get like just pumped for the rest of the day.
Yes.
And that's like kind of like that trigger is like, okay, I'm pumped. Let's get to work. Let's win this day and
Yeah.
let's move forward. And you have to have it because when you're grinding, 12 hours a day, and I know you like, you have so much going on with like the coaching and Ryze and Pure Factor. It's like you need that kind of catalyst to get the get day going.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, me personally, like my motive progress is my motivation. You know what I mean? So oftentimes it's just a matter of kind of thinking about the things that are working out or
Mhm.
the momentum that's building. And that's all I need to keep that momentum, keep that motivation and drive and keep pushing. It's like kind of like I haven't surfed in a long time, but 20 years ago I was into surfing and like as you're about to catch a wave, that's when you're most motivated. That's when
Yep.
you're getting ready and really pumping it. And that's like I feel like if you tweak your mindset at the start of the day, that can give you the drive to just push and have that positive attitude as you push through it.
Yep, 100%, 100%. And that's kind of like how my brain is wired as well. It's just
Yeah.
you get pumped off progress, and
Yeah.
that's why we continue to progress. It's addicting. It really is.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yep.
Um, I got one more question for you. I know we're both busy men. This one's gonna be a little reflection. If you could tell the version of yourself 10 years ago, one thing to keep in mind when pursuing your current goals, what would it be?
Hmm. Okay, so one thing to keep in mind while pursuing your current goals. Okay.
Let's say business
So,
goals. Make it a little bit more specific.
yeah, so I think it's just like one, everyone says, the whole like don't give up type thing. And it's like, I think that's really played out to an extent. But for me, I think it's not for my personal. It was, I was on this path, right? And there came a point where it's like, do I still want to do this? You
Mm,
know what I mean? And so the path starts changing, right? And I think, with Iron World, with Precision, with myself, there came a point where it's like, is this what I'm meant to do?
yeah.
And I think I wasted a lot of time searching for the next big thing when that
Yeah.
thing was right in front of me. You know what I mean? When that thing was literally right in front of me. And as soon as I came back to my roots, who I am as a person, who I am as a boss, who I am as a coach, who I am as a business owner, things just started, it's like this path forward, like blocks just started aligning,
Yeah.
right? And I think before that, I was just really fighting that path. And so to an extent, it's like a don't give up situation, but it was more than that. It was more in the mind. Yeah, I mean,
That
and not
resonates so much.
yeah.
So much,
And
dude.
yeah. And then on the other side of that, it's like, okay, I think this goes hand in hand. It's like, don't chase like the white rabbit, right? And
Yeah.
and and it's like there's things that maybe not be the best for your business or yourself that will yield like short-term profitability,
Yeah.
right? Versus like the long game and
Long
the long
term.
goal.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's just keeping that in mind versus that white rabbit that's right in
Yeah.
front of you. Look past that. And
Absolutely.
those were like the biggest, and I know this because like someone literally just asked me this the other day. A guy starting a clothing brand just asked me this other day, and I was like, that's the one. That was the big factor for me.
No, I mean, I love that, man, and I appreciate you sharing that. Honestly, I think a lot of people listening who are in similar shoes as us will probably resonate with that because we're all kind of guilty of it. Something myself, a similar reflection not too long ago was like once I feel like once businesses get to a certain point, they're almost on like cruise control and it gets a little for lack of a better word, it gets a little boring and
Hmm.
mundane. And that's when you start looking at other things. And that's like, oh, maybe I'll start a fourth business or a fifth business when I should just be staying focused and making this as good as possible. I'm now allowing myself to distract and be elsewhere. And that was something I'm very guilty of is like just continuing to stay on this path and put all my energy into the companies or the items that are already working well and stop trying to tack on more.
Yep. And that's literally exactly the point I was making. Literally
Yeah.
just that right there. And it's so easy to do that versus, like you said, there's always a way you can make what you're doing better. There
Yes.
really is. There's always a way.
Yeah.
And once I had to find that out the hard way. And once I
Me
did,
too.
I was like, dude, like this is so clear. And I think those other things that are later in life, what's come is going to come if
Yeah.
we stay on our path. Like I, to be honest, like I really wanted to do something in like motorsports. And I
Yeah.
feel like I was really trying to force that. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And now that I'm not trying to force that, I'm still going into motorsports and some other things, but not business wise, just personal wise.
Yeah.
And I'm enjoying it so much more. And it's like it's what's gonna come is gonna come. You know what I mean? As long as you stay on that path, it's going to come. And I think I was just trying to force way too many things way too quickly. And like you said, that takes the focus off the business, that takes the focus off the people.
Yeah.
And that's where it's all at. So
Wholeheartedly agree, man. Everything happens for a reason, and there's a time and a place. If an opportunity isn't coming right now, it's because you weren't ready for it. You know what I mean?
mhm.
Like in 2 more years, maybe that motorsport opportunity will come about with the right partners, the right situation. You'll have enough time for it. So I've learned somewhat expensive lessons similarly to you in the past year or two. And so again, really appreciate you sharing that. Hopefully that helps a few other people not go through the same lessons or mistakes that we maybe went through. But I think it's totally normal to go through that. So again, thank you for sharing that, man. Well, I think we're about out on time. Really appreciate this conversation today, man. This was great. This is definitely not, what I'm typically bringing on, and I think the viewers are going to love it. I'd love to have you back on in the future. When is your next show?
Okay, so that's a good question. Honestly, man, I honestly contemplated retiring this weekend. Really,
Really?
I really did. I'm getting pretty damn good in the car, pretty damn good on the track, and it's like I posted about this the other day. It's like to an extent, like you got to be crazy to be a business owner. You got to be crazy to be a professional bodybuilder. Like you have to be delusional to an extent,
Yeah.
right? But I'm also at a point where I'm also a realist. Like I always knew like I'm real. Like I always knew like genetically, I don't have what it takes to be a top 15 Olympian. I know that, right? And people are like, well, you don't believe in yourself. I was like, oh, I believe in myself wholeheartedly, but
Yeah,
there
that's nothing to do with it.
but in bodybuilding is like one of those few sports where it's like your input doesn't necessarily equate to what that end result's going to be. You
Right.
know what I mean?
It's
Whereas,
not like where you can just shoot jump shots until you get better. It's not like that.
exactly. And, for the better part of 10 years, bro, I was a perfect athlete. Like when I tell you I did not drink for 8 years, I did not drink a sip of alcohol. I did not miss a meal. Like I was a perfect bodybuilder from literally 20 to 28,
Yeah.
or maybe 21 to 29. I was a perfect bodybuilder. And then, I'll see people, put in half the effort, grow twice as fast. And it's just like, that's where I started realizing, you know what, like I probably should have did something else, but I love this, so I'm going to do it anyways.
Yeah.
But it's getting to that point, we talked about the health aspect. Okay, what is the return on the health aspect? Like, what is, you know what I mean? I do think I'm the type of person where it's like, I'm at that last point for sure. Even with like my coaching, like with the shows this year, it's like, to be honest, like I stayed lean for like probably shouldn't have, but I stayed lean for like another solid like 6 weeks. And I was just testing things on myself that I
Yeah.
didn't want to do with people in my athletes in peak week. And I
Yeah.
learned a lot. I learned so much. And I was just like, dude, I feel like I'm doing like stuff that I haven't heard other people do yet. You know what
Oh,
I mean?
wow.
And I was just messing with a bunch of different stuff. And a lot of it yielded super good results. So I think honestly, if my leg cooperates, because it's still torn, my hip's still torn.
Yeah.
If my body cooperates, I'm going to run like probably 2 more shows, maybe late spring, early summer before like the season gets really, really busy. Normally I get
Sure.
really busy like late May, June, July, August, September.
Mhm.
Um, and then I think like that's gonna be it for me. Yep, for sure, for sure. Again, like I feel like I just on a personal level, I need to compete at something. I've never not competed at something. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, like driving is that next thing that I will be competing at and what I'm working towards. So I'm really excited about it. I feel like a little kid again, when you're
Yeah.
like just so excited to do something, I feel like a little
Yeah.
kid again, and it doesn't interfere with my job or my
Yeah.
coaching or the businesses at all. So I'm like, okay, this fits perfectly.
Yeah. I love that for you, man. I'm excited for you to move into that next chapter and hopefully we can get on a track together someday soon.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that'd be dope.
All right, brother. Well, thank you so much for taking the time and being on the podcast. I appreciate it. We'll have to get another episode together again soon, man. Will, just in case, for those who may not be currently following you, what is the best way? Where can they follow you online and how can they get in touch with you if they're interested in coaching with you?
Yeah, so we have the can you still hear me or did this cut out?
No, you're good.
Okay, so Instagram is Will Sage underscore. Two different YouTubes. I have like a personal YouTube, it's Will Sage. And then the Precision Elite YouTube. And then there's precisionelite.com or teamprecisionelite.com as well. Definitely need to update the site, but it's I mean it's a beautiful site still. It just need to tweak a few things. But yeah, those are the avenues right now. And then Iron Willed, you have the Iron Willed Instagram as well, which we just actually hit 100K followers 2 days ago. So I was
Wow.
really,
Awesome, man.
really excited about that. Yeah.
Congratulations. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man.
All right, guys. Well, give Will a follow if you're interested in a high level coach who knows what he's doing. That's the man for you. Will, I hope you have a great day, brother, and let's talk again soon.
Yeah, you too, man.